Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, and perhaps even good evening. Thank you so much for dropping by and joining me for another exciting Daz Plus Pro Artist Series stream. Even though with a slight delay, this is wonderful to see you on such spontaneous notice, might I say. Mr. Jeff is here. Mr. Forgotten Lectures is here. And we have Ayub. Fantastic. Good to see you, buddy. I've seen Daltonbeck before. And I think, have I seen anyone else? There's about 12 or 13 or so of you in here. I think I've seen up to 18. Say hello in the chat, and you know we can connect. I'm so sorry about the little mix up there, and this is kudos to Brian Levita from Daz. Brannon Levita from Daz. He is the senior web development guy, and he sends out the emails, and I think he just got his dates mixed up. Usually we send an email out 24 hours before the event begins, and you know it's just like one day that got mixed up. So you know I thought we were about 3-4 hours ago, the four of us here who do the show together had decided, well, if the email doesn't go out, then I suppose you know there's nobody there who could say who could watch it, so we're gonna postpone it maybe to next week or something. And yeah, it's one of those things. So we kind of internally at that point canceled the event, and then at 4 literally the email got sent out. So it's one of those things. I'm glad you're here. And so for that reason we thought maybe to give everyone a chance to check their email and to arrive, we'll go ahead as planned just a little bit later. So I have thought we could go ahead and so basically date wise we're trying to do these Daz Plus streams at the end of every month, so at the last weekend of every month, which this weekend happens to be in Europe, most of Europe, the day where you guys get your hour back, which is really, really cool. So tonight you're going to get an hour back. So if I overrun a little bit because it's a lot of work to get through what we have here, then you know at least you get it back. Us here in America, us folks, we have to wait kind of 2 or 3 more weeks. It's always not entirely sure what the date is, but yeah, it's one of those things. This here is what we're going to be making today. So basically I have got good news because your favorite gum is coming back in style, and this is a vignette of the iconic red room from Twin Peaks. And am I in the way here? No, there we go. It's fine. It's fine. This is the iconic red room from Twin Peaks, and I thought this would be really cool to build every single prop with the various 3D creation tools that we have at our disposal, and see how something like that comes together, and how you can also create that and potentially even sell it on the Daz store. So we're gonna just a little project overview here. The curtains here are made in Marvelous Designer. That is, I think, the easiest way to get them done. It's a little tricky because the real life scale Marvelous Designer doesn't really play well with that, so we're gonna have to kind of scale this down and think in a smaller scale and then scale it up when it comes back into Daz Studio. The lamps and the chairs and this little gadget and the table here, they are all made in Blender with some varying modeling tools. The texturing, at least for the chairs and for this table-y thing here, they're done in Substance Painter. And I think this lamp thing, I think that we're making that directly in Daz Studio. So you don't have to use Substance Painter if you set up your material zones properly. We can do that directly in Daz Studio. And then the floor here, that's an iconic pattern that I didn't find a shader for, so I just grabbed a picture from the internet that had that sort of pattern, and I'm going to turn that into a tileable pattern with Substance Sampler. And I thought, you know, putting all these, oh yeah, and then here in the background we just have a Daz character that has hair. That's a statue. This is actually the Venus of Medici, not the other one. This is the Venus of Medici, and we're gonna go and export her out with hair and texture her in some Substance Painter as well, just to give that marble effect. And there's a little problem that we have to fix in Blender before we can do that. But yeah, that is all the plan. Then we're going to bring everything into Daz Studio, set some lights, and hopefully come up with that. So in case you're wondering, Jay, what is this red room I keep hearing so much about? This is an iconic scene from the series Twin Peaks, which was shot 1991 to kind of 92 and ran on, I believe, CBS. Let me show you a clip room then, just in regards to, I've grabbed some stills from this, but if we were to think maybe this is about 1 meter, this is another meter, or just slightly less, let's make this 2 meters here, so maybe the whole room is 3-4 meters, on one side and 2 meters on another side. That gives us a bit of a scale of how our scene is going to look like. So let's go and do that and start Daz Studio and get ready for that. I don't know if we're gonna, I'm trying to put everything into 2 hours here. I might overrun a little bit because when it comes to modeling and texturing and all these things, there's a lot of, there's just, sometimes it takes longer than I anticipate. My original plan was also to show you how to package this so that I can share it with you, but that might not be possible just due to time constraints. So we'll focus on getting it right, and maybe if I feel like it, I can go and share it with you afterwards. And also, if you do have any questions, of course, then do leave them in the chat. We're just a small group, so I'll try my best to answer them. Let me go and start with the primitive here. And I'm going to make it plain. I'm going to make it maybe 1 meter by 1 meter. I think that's all we need. And that'll be our floor. There we go. And so just so that it has the correct dimension. So if this is now 1 meter by 1 meter, I can go into parameters and then head over to scale. And this is X. So X, I think that's going to be 400%. That'll make it 4 meters. And then Y is up in Daz Studio. I got to remind myself of that because there's so many applications that do it differently. Z is going to be 200%, and that'll be our floor. So currently that's not fantastic, but it's going to give us a little guide of what we're going to build. So this is going to be 1 chair, then we have 2 chairs here. We've got these lamps, and then we have a side table, and then we have the curtains all around it. So perhaps we shall start with Blender and get some of the props modeled, and then we go on to maybe. Or should we do the curtains first? Let's do the curtains first. Let's do the curtains first in Marvelous Designer. There's, before you ask, you might wonder, is it possible to do the curtain effect also in DForce? And I've tried it. It didn't quite work for me. The trick I'm going to show you in Marvelous Designer is literally how you get the how you get the crinkling right. You're in a Twin Peaks mood, Roxy. That's awesome. Welcome. Good to see you. Yeah, so the crinkling happens because you have a fixed piece at the top, say 1 meter wide, and then you have a 2 or 3 meter wide piece underneath it that you then gather and put on the same space, and that gives these little crinkles. There is actually, if you don't have Marvelous Designer, there is another way to do this by modeling it, and I believe Catherine, also known as Petunia Petals, she has a little tutorial on Renderosity, how to make curtains in Daz Studio using Hexagon. So let me show you just a brief example here. So we're using in the rectangle, and I'm just going to make it maybe 50 by 10 centimeters, just as a demo. This is going to be our piece that will hold the curtains in place. So we don't really want to do anything with that. This is going to be frozen. So Control K freezes this in place. So when I run the simulation, this doesn't fall to the ground, which is kind of nice. And then we're going to go and make one that is, say, 2 times, 3 times larger. Let's say 150 centimeters. And we're going to make it maybe 200 long. Takes a moment. I don't think we don't need the 20 millimeter particle distance here. I might go and decrease that to like 40 just so that the simulation goes a little faster. Give Marvelous Designer a second to do that, and then move this down a little bit. And then the trick really, then the trick really is to sew this bit onto the shorter side, and thereby we create this gathering at the top. That happens with N, so it's a segment sewing here, that against that. And I think we need both pieces a little bit higher, otherwise it'll intersect with the floor, and I think Marvelous Designer doesn't like that. I don't have donuts, Julia. Do you have donuts? Any of you? Roxy, for example? Do you have donuts? And a damn fine cup of coffee. I do have that, so that is nice. I really enjoyed Twin Peaks back in the day. I had the whole collection. I had the book, the Agent Cooper's tapes, My Life, My Tapes, I think. You can still get that for a $5, I think, on Amazon. There, we do that, and now press space to simulate this. And then we get this nice gathering effect here. Oop, has something fallen to the ground? What's fallen off here? What is that? That is, I may have just accidentally created something that we didn't want to have here. There. So those are curtains in principle. And I've tried this in DForce as well. I really wanted to show you how to make that in DForce, but I don't think that's quite possible. So I think this is a good principle. I think it'll be difficult to have this as a to get the whole thing done. So we can try 2 meters and then another 2 meters. And just because 2 meters is something that is too difficult for Marvelous Design, I'm going to go with 20 centimeters instead. I think. Yeah, let me go do that. So we'll go and get rid of this and that as well. Just make that again. Was it E? Rectangle is S. There we go. S. So we're going to go 200. Let's say 200 centimeters. That'll work. 200. And then because the room is probably, let's say 250. 2 meters 50. Let's try that. See if we can do that. That could be the curtains. I'm thinking. Marvelous Design is thinking about it. Come on, buddy. You can do it. And the larger it is, the more difficult it is for Marvelous Designer to work out. So that works well. If that was 2 meters, and we need maybe 1 meter, 100, maybe 75. Let's do that. So we go width 75, and then height. Height can be like 20. That'll be good. So with N, segment sewing from here to there. Yes, yes, yes. Control K to freeze this piece, otherwise that falls to the ground. And let's see if that, does that work? It does, but I think I've just made a length mistake here. Yeah, I didn't mean to do that. I'm going to make that a bit longer to, in fact, I'm going to make that again here. Let's try a ratio of 1 to 2. Let's try that. So S width, let's say 100 by 20. This is why it takes me so long to do these things. And then I think we could probably extend this by 50%. Let's try that. K here. And then this here. We'll go and extend that so to 150 of that. And height. Height was actually correct. There. 2 to 1 is a bit flimsy. 3 to 1, there's more gathering there. And then N from here to there, as long as the notch points in the right direction. Let's see if that simulates. Yeah, so DForce, I tried to do the same thing, but with DForce it just doesn't come out that way. I think this looks nice. Look at that. This is good to begin with. You can also play with the material properties a little bit. So if we wanted to either have that a bit more detailed, we can do that, but we can also make the cloth behave differently. So if we want that to form more like satin, I believe that is in the library. I'll go and switch that over to library and then go into fabric. And then if you click this thing, you can actually read what it says. So there's cotton, there's denim, there's fur, there's knit muslin. So maybe something like silk chiffon. Let's try that. So we go and drag that onto here. And then it also goes and changes its the visual effect, but it also changes its the fabric properties. I think there's a way to avoid that. If I go back here and then go and just click on that, and I think down here I can sort of apply that without the effect. I think I'm happy though, so I'm going to go and stop the simulation here. Maybe even go and bring that up to 20, the particle distance, just so that it's a bit more detailed. And then they have to resimulate that, probably have. This now divides the geometry a little bit more. And then we can go and put 2 of these on the left side and then 4 of these on the right side when I export that. Yep, is Marvelous Designer still working on it? Yes, still working on it. Still working. Still working on it. Incidentally, I have a new PC that's been delivered today, and I haven't had a chance to look at it yet, but it's I'm looking forward to it. So the next stream, you're probably going to see me with the new PC, different PC, slightly faster, which is always good. The more power hungry our applications get over time. It's one of those things, isn't it? Before I export this out, it is exciting, absolutely. The current one I have is quite a monster, or so I thought, but you know, our applications are getting more power hungry as we go along. Let me go do the UVs here. So this one is HP Z840 workstation with two Xeon E5 2670 CPUs. I'm going to go put everything into the 0 to 1 space here. Perfect. Not that we're gonna need it, or we could actually drag ourselves a normal on this, and we might be able to use a normal map. Let's try that. I think that might be funky. And the new one is basically the next generation after that. It's a Z8 G4 workstation with 256 gigabytes of RAM. This one has that as well. That's quite cool. I used to max out and eventually also maxed out the cotton gabardine. I think that looks great. I think I'm going to go and use that. Cotton gabardine. So that goes on that fabric here. Fabric has basic properties, normal map. Not normal map. Here it is. I think I can just go and drag that right on here, and then it has that as a normal map. Perfect. So now we can go and bake that out. I think 2K is probably going to be fine. I'll go and put all of this on a folder on my desktop, and I'll call that one Red Room. And in that room, I may have one folder that I'll call Textures, just to keep it really, really organized. And in Textures, I'm going to have another folder that's called Curtains. And we only really need the normal for that. Curtains N, PNG, that's just fine. 2K is fine. And we just want the normal because we're going to do the color and all that in Twin Peaks. I was going to say in Daz Studio. There, has that done it? I think that's done that. I'm also going to go and save my project file just in case I need to go back to that. And that isn't it. Red Room. And the projects, even though we're only having this one, but just for organizational purposes, curtains. Curtains, there we go. Just in case we need to go back there. Oh, wow, really, Jeff? I've been meaning to ask you, this was actually quite interesting to hear. Were you working at TVNZ at the time? That's quite cool. I remember the Betacam connector Jeff and I were just briefly talking about in the chat. That was something, I need to also export this as an OBJ here. That was something, Betacam was the first cassette-based format that we can just go and have this selected piece here. That Sony brought out, and it was good. It's a good thing. Betacam then quickly became Betacam SP for Superior, and they stayed with the same type of cassette format. So Betamax was for the home format, Betacam was for the professional market, and the tape was a little bit, there's more particles in there really. This is also curtains, isn't it? Curtain, no, OBJs, I'm going to call it. And in there, I'm going to say this is curtains, curtains. And they stayed with the same form factor all the way from Betacam SP, that then was replaced with digital Betacam, and that was then replaced with HDCam, and that was eventually replaced with HDCam SR. And you know, the rest is history, because I think that was pretty much the last tape format that we had. UV coordinates, we want that. We want none of that. We want to import it as meters. Okay, let's go. Let's just remember that meters is good. And let's hit OK. So those are our curtains. Eventually. Eventually. Let's go and import that here in Daz Studio. OBJ's curtains, here we go. And because I've exported it in meters, I'm going to go and pick the modo scale here. We're just going to keep everything in meters there. By the time we get into Blender, it'll be, you know, it'll work out fine. There we go. Those are our curtains. And they now have the correct scale even as well. I'm happy about that. So curtains. Let's go and turn around. Oh, here we go. I need to turn them 90 degrees. So I'm going to go over into my tool settings and switch on rotational snapping, just in case you guys didn't know that existed. This lets me make a very accurate way to do that without having to type in numbers. So that's quite nice. And then this, we could have made them dangle on the floor a little bit, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. That would have been quite nice. And then we can... then they wouldn't intersect quite so much here. I think I'm going to go do that in Marvelous Designer. I'm going to go and just make the floor a little bit dark so we can see a bit of separation here. Right now, the curtains and the floor, they don't seem to interact, but if I wanted to do that, I think I can just go back into Marvelous Designer and go pick this piece here. Pick the whole piece, put it down a little. Actually put both pieces down. Like so. There, it will recognize the floor. Like so, if we go and simulate that again, it goes and has this nice gathering on the bottom here. And so that looks a little bit nicer. Let me go and just move that away like so. Yeah, there we go, because this is more like what we see in the real world there. I think by the time we put a nice pattern on there, I don't want to see the inside of this here, so as Travis David says, part of mastering Marvelous Designer is to tame this beast during the simulation. So this looks actually much nicer here. So let's do that. They look like they're walking. Yes, absolutely. So long ago, right? I can't believe it's nearly 2024. I can't believe it's nearly Christmas. Somebody said that the other day. Jeremy, he said that. We told him he has to leave because he said at that point, he said, oh yeah, it's 64 days to Christmas. Like, this must be 59 days now, or 58 days. My God, that's terrible. I'm going to go export the same thing again. We don't need to redo the UVs. It's all good. And everything should stay the same. And boom. There is even a thing in Daz Studio. If I don't want to delete this and then re-import it, I think, let me try this out. This could work if I go to Edit, Object, Geometry. There's Update Base Geometry here. So that's another nice idea. If you have the exact same geometry with different vertex positions, you can go and do that. Update vertex positions from the current shape. Nope, from a new file. So from File, last option, then pick the file, which is going to be the same one. And if I hit Accept, this may or may not work. Same import dialog comes up, and we can see it has changed. So I don't have to change my naming and all that. So that makes my life a little bit easier here. I'll just go and make these a little, just a little red. We're going to do the final redness probably later, because this is probably a little bit too saturated, as they say, but who knows until we see this in Iray. Also probably a little too light, so let's make it a bit kind of darker there. That'll work fine. So then we'll do this, and then we're going to put this to the corner, maybe here. And then because I'm going to go and need many more pieces, I'm going to go and create instances of that. So rather than duplicate this, I'll go create an instance, and that means if I change the material on my main object, then all my instances change at the same time. So that's going to be nice and easy. That's not under edit. Edit duplicate would be to create an kind of a duplicate of that has its own material properties and all that. We want to go over to create and head over to instance. I'm going to go with the single one. This will create multiple, but they're a little bit scattered. So I'm going to go in with a single instance. I'll keep the defaults, and here's my instance. So that's almost nice. I just need to turn that around to kind of here. And then we're going to go and position those carefully, like so. There, our red room is coming together. And now I think, can I duplicate an instance? That would be good. I've never tried that before. Can I? Yes, I can. That's perfect. You can even set yourself a shortcut key up for that. If you're up for that, like Control D, that would be something. I don't have that currently, but if you do this a lot and you want the functionality that you get from, say, Unreal Engine, where you just Alt, left click and drag out, maybe another one. Kind of depends. Do we want curtains on going around that side as well? We might do. I think for a vignette, I'm just going to go and do this this kind of side here. So let's duplicate this as well. And then that goes here and does that. Oops. Oh, I mate. There we go. We have the beginnings of our red room. And then, you can obviously match these up accurately with numeric values. I think I'm going to go and leave it like this. So far, so good. If the floor doesn't seem to be quite large enough, we can also go and make that, just increase it a little bit overall, maybe to say 120%, just to account for the stuff that's on the outside. Or you make it even larger in case you wanted the curtains a bit, if you wanted to show a little bit of the floor through curtains that might be somewhat transparent. But there we go. Curtains. Hey, that's good. Let's go and save our scene just so that, we can go and pop my library directly on here, add a base directory, and then I'll go and put my red room directly into my library. And that makes it really easy for me to go and access these things. Not so much these things, even though you can also do that. If you wanted to ever open OBJs directly from the library, you would go and attach them to the other import formats, and then they appear here. I don't think you can save them, but you can certainly access them like that. So you don't have to go via file import. You can literally go and access them like this if you map the same directory under other formats. So that's quite nice. In here, I'm going to go and make a new folder and call it new folder, and I'm going to call it Daz Scenes. And in here, I'm going to go and save this as Red Room V1. Oops, V1. There we go. Just because I know you guys are going to be hot on my case to say, save, Jay, save. All right, that's the curtains done. We could deal with the floor pattern next, before we start modeling and texturing. Perhaps we'll do that. So the floor, well, actually, let me do some tidy up work here. So I'm going to go and parent the instances underneath my original curtain, and then I can go and close this down. So the floor has this particular pattern on there. In fact, let me go and see if I can show you my references that I have. namely here. I'm going to show you a way of how to import those into a Blender later on. So this is one that I found on the internet, and this kind of shows this floor. And also, we can see that the curtains are going on the other side. So reference is always something really nice. If you have multiple monitors, keep a reference or multiple on a monitor, and don't be afraid to change them out and look at this. So if I look at my curtains and their curtains, I can see that there's more gathering, so they have a kind of a flimsier material, but we're okay with that. The floor, I have to say, I was trying to find a shader, and I couldn't find anything similar. Then I thought, well, maybe I can draw this pattern out somehow in Photoshop, and my skills aren't all that good. So in the end, I decided I'm going to go with somebody on the internet who's already made a pattern like that, and it looks like this. Julia's going to give you the link to something like this. So they're all sort of, I think there's Twin Peaks Red Room floor pattern. You can do this. This one's on Pinterest, and this is technically what we need. I don't have an account with Pinterest, and there's no way for me to go and save that image. I think if I do that, they say, you know, you gotta go and, you know, do things like login and stuff. So I'm gonna go and just hit Shift, Windows, and S, and then the little screen grabber tool comes up. I'll go and select the rectangular grab tool, and just without that logo, I'm just going to go and grab something like this out of here. And of course, that's not going to be tileable. That's just something that just takes a copy of what is on my screen. So if I go to my notifications here, I can see Snip and Sketch has memorized that, and I'll just go and save this out. And with the help of Substance Painter, I might just go and put this into the top folder here, just call it screenshot, that's fine. I'm going to go and use Substance Sampler to turn this into a tileable pattern, if I can remember how to do that. Okay, Control S, fine. Okay, I'm saving it. So many of you will probably have heard of Substance Painter, and that's what we're going to be using to texture our assets. But if you're a subscriber to the Substance Suite, you also get access to Substance Sampler and Substance Designer. Designer is something that lets you create patterns and very good looking materials, if only you knew how, with nodes. And it's a very powerful program. And Sampler is something that lets you create actual SPR materials, substance materials from 2D images. And it has a ton of cool features, and this is the one that I think might work for our case here. Substance Sampler. So you essentially load in an image and then you make it tile. So you can also do that in Photoshop. It has this offset filter. That's something that shows you where you need to work on, but that's very fiddly to get that to an actual square image. But you know, if I can't make it work with this, we might have to go into Photoshop and do that there. So there we go, perfect. I think I'm going to go and create new, and the first thing it does gives you this sphere, but down here you can change that into something else, like a plane. So we want to look for something like a floor, so a plane is great. But if you're making a pattern for clothing, you can also pick something like a shirt or a piece of cloth or a different kind of shirt, or you can have that little, you know, substance ball. You can also pick yourself a different HDR environment, but you know, a plane is will just work just fine for me. And I think then we can go and drag an image in here, or just click on it and then pick where that is. So mine was in Red Room, and that's just going to be this pattern here. And it will offer me various things. So image to material is something in which it will go and create things like a height map and a bump map. And I don't really need that, but I think it's probably something I might pick. I think textures, yeah, I might just pick that. I might just pick the first one. I think either of these would also work fine, but I'm going to go and use this as base material. I think that is what that is. I don't use this very often, so you know, bear with me. We're learning together. So it'll take a little bit of time in the background to extract things out, but it'll now go and infer something like height and roughness information. It's very, very cool. And you can tweak all these things. You can also delete them, and eventually you have something that you can use for proper material. Like for carpets, this is really nice. We just have a flat material, so all I need it for is the tileability thing. See if we can make that happen. And then we go on to modeling and then texturing in Substance Painter. Also very, very, like, you know, simple and easy. So that's the plan. J save 1, audience save 0. Very funny. So if you look closely, it has now generated height information here, which is kind of cool. So it's just guessing. Those are AI tools. It's just guessing, but you can, you know, fiddle with these things. I think what I want to do, and this is my layer stack here. I think there's a filter that I want to use. Which goes, I think, above that. I think you have the image to material. There's something I can go and micro details and all that. I think somewhere, that's matte and shiny, somewhere there's a way that I can take the height information away, but I can't remember where that is. But for now, I see that it's not quite tiled. And I think where we do that is under the something called a filter menu. If only I could remember where that is, huh? Oops, that's not what I meant. Viewer settings, starter assets. That's also not what I meant. Was it shader settings? No, it was something. It was called. Was it the crop tool? No, that's just a tool. Man, I should have practiced more. This, of course, worked flawlessly during rehearsal. So I can go and make an effort to make sure it looks good with the cropping like so. Just keeping an eye on the viewport on the left here. And see when that ugly strip disappears. If by all means, if you know how Substance Designer works more than I do, please do let me know. I'm looking for, there we go, this is kind of working, but there was something called the tile filter. I just can't find that at the moment. I thought it was somewhere here. But I think it'll kind of work for what we're doing. So there's a proper filter that lets you do more stuff here. Was it here? Add a layer, base material. I can't find it. I can't find it. But yeah, oh, there we go. This is at the bottom here, height. I think you can go and turn that down. I think that's the key to getting height information out. But we can just go and export the material as is, and then just use the very funny, Nate. Very funny. Do you even have Substance Sampler? We're okay with this. We're okay with this. So I'm going to go and export this material, and not as Substance material. I'm going to go and export it as Amazon standard material. Format JPEG PNG perhaps. Layers output is good. We only really need the base color, so none of these things. Yeah, perfect. Where are you going to save that to? Substance exports. No, actually save that to somewhere else. Save it to my red room textures floor. Let's do that. Floor. Floor. There we go. And it's going to be my floor. Or just call it red room floor. And export. Boom. All right. So now that this is tileable, I should be able to go on to my base material here. Make the I'll leave it gray because maybe we want the white not to be completely white. I think in the reference it has a slight hue in there. Textures floor. And it's coming together. It's certainly tiled, not quite correctly because we had stretched out the the floor. So we're going to go and either correct that with the tiling values inside of the materials tab, or you can go and make yourself a new floor in something like Blender, and then make sure you apply the dimensions so that the stretching doesn't occur. Either way will work fine. I think since we're just in Daz Studio, let's head over to the default, sorry, the geometry, and then here's horizontal tiles and vertical tiles. And we're going to go and put that into something like this. Was that what it looked? It goes the wrong way. So it goes and, yeah, whoops, sorry about that. The vertical tile, there's a rotational value here, isn't there? And that isn't done with the offset. That's not what we want to do. We want to go and literally rotate the UV. So yeah, we may do this floor again in Blender, and then we can rotate the UVs because angle, there we go, angle. Is angle what we're looking for? No, what a shame. I thought there was a way to do that here. Okay, no worries. We'll leave it like this for now, and we could come back to this in Blender, and then in there we can go and literally rotate the UVs to rotate the pattern, just to make it look like the references. So the spikes go kind of to the left, right here. So that would be like a 45-degree rotation. I could have sworn that is an angle thing you do here, but I guess it isn't. One of those things. Ted, wonderful to see you. We started a little bit later today because the email was sent out at the time when the event was supposed to start. So it's one of those things. You haven't missed much. I've made the curtains in Marvelous Designer, and I'm currently dealing with the floor. So yeah, join us for how to rotate UVs in Blender, perhaps. That's a good start here. Let's do that. And then we also get rid of the stretching here. Let's do that. Then we can do this without stretching and with the floor pointing into the proper direction. Let's go do that. Blender 3.65 I'm using. It wilted. That's it. That's it. Good to see you, Ted. Happy almost Halloween, just in case I don't see you before Halloween or on Halloween. Let's go make that floor just really briefly. Shift A with the mesh with the plane, and we're going to go and turn this into what did we say, like 4 or 5 meters to the side. So we're going to SX5, and then we're maybe using 3 meters on the other one, so SY3, and that is that. So if I export the object now, you'll see that the scale here is not 1, and the problem with that is it needs to be 1 so that the scale needs to be applied. It's a bit like baking joint rotations, and we do that with Control A, and then we just apply all transformations, and then the scale is all 1. So that's kind of cool. Oh, it's actually 10 meters, 6 meters, and nothing. Oh, that's interesting. We wanted to have that 5 meters, didn't we? 5 and 3. That was the plan. There we go. Thank you, Blender. Control A, and all transformation. Now everything is 1 again. That's perfect. So with that, let's just have a quick look at the UVs. We're going to deal with UVs more as we UV unwrap our other objects. We can even preview the material in here. So let's go and make ourselves a new material here. We'll just call it floor. And we can just use texture node on input here. Image texture, that's the one. And let me go and open one that we conveniently have here in the red room. Floor, that's the one. And to see that in the other pane, I need to go and switch this over from solid into this view here. And then I see what the UVs look like. So they're still a little bit stretched. And to avoid that, I can go and just rotate the UVs around. So what I'm seeing here is the UVs. It's just one polygon really. And this is the 3D object. And here's the effect it has. So with this selected, I can say, when we're hovering in this window, I can say R for rotate. And as I do that, as I rotate this thing, I can see that this is now pointing into the right direction. So this is the kind of the pattern I want. It's a little inaccurate doing it that way. So you can also go and type in a number. In my case, it'll be like R45. In fact, now it's actually R90 on top of that, and then we're pointing like this, aren't we? Yeah, now we're pointing that way. So now we can also go and stretch this out so that at that point I only need to apply my material in Unreal Engine, in Daz Studio, and not worry about the whatever's happening there. So SX will do that. Oh, that's not good. S just his way. Oh, because I've rotated it, I've got a problem. That is also not good, is it? Man, there's always issues, isn't there? Maybe we're okay with this floor. That's fine. Maybe we'll go and make it a little bit larger, like so. Or is it going to be smaller? I can't tell. Well, that is something we can do in Daz Studio. I think maybe this is usable. Let's use that. There's always some issues. If there's one thing you know about 3D, then it's reliably unreliable. I'll go and export my new floor out here. And I'll put it into OBJs. I'll call it here floor. And I want to make it, I want to go selected only here. UV coordinates, normals. That's fine. Materials, export that as well. Perfect. So that's our first UV mapped object in Blender. That's quite cool, I have to say. Floor OBJ, and we want to do that in meters because whatever comes from Blender is in meters. And there we go, it's already found that texture. That's nice. So if I do want to make small adjustments here now to, oops, floor, I'll call that one floor V2. Then I can do that on this material here, kind of if I feel like it. It's also rotating, isn't it? That's interesting. So I go and set that to say 1, or no, like say 2, 1.5, and 1.5. Then it's more. So as long as the value is the same on both, I think I'm okay. Or 0.5, and we're making that a little bit larger, like so. I think maybe the default works fine for now. And there we go, that's our floor. That's nice. Oh yeah, then one other thing, if I find the white is a bit too white, and I think in the reference we had that, it's kind of a beige and an off-white, I can go and make that, well, a little beige and a little darker, something like that, to keep it within the red room theme. So this is somewhat easier if you do the whole texturing in Substance Painter, because then all you do is apply maps, and you can, while you can override the color values if you want, you don't have to. It's more or less, you know, it stays as it is. There we go. That's our floor done. Quickly save that. I think I might just kick floor version 1 out. Or should I leave it? Yeah, I might go, I'll just go kick it out. There we go. Reliably unreliable. And it's like that with every application. Also, so something that really irks me about 3D is when you have something where you know something worked, and then you go back the next day, and for some reason it's no longer working. It's behaving differently. It has like different features that it didn't have the day before. And you think, dang, brother, that's cool. One of those things. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's the spirit, yes. Also, it keeps us on our toes. That's right. It's like a massive, big adventure game, really, isn't it? Do you know what I could do in order to make the curtains look even more amazing is we can put, especially on the gathering at the top here, we can add ourselves a subdivision surface modifier on that. So object, geometry, convert to sub D, makes that look even more exciting. So there we go. Now we've got really cool curtains here. That is nice. Let's go do some modeling now. I'll introduce you to a nice feature inside Blender that is, I don't think we need to keep the floor, do we? We can do though. Let's go save it as, no, actually let's go and make this the floor collection. Floor collection, and we go and disable that, make ourselves a new collection. And this one is going to be something like the chair, for example. So chair is good. And we'll go start with that in a moment. I might also go and save my blend file here. Technically in a new folder here, blend files. Red Room V1, here we go. So because I only have a single monitor, it'll be tricky for me to switch over to a reference, pick another reference, and zoom into that and then go switch back to Blender. I mean, while I could do that, there is an interesting way to do this inside of Blender directly, and you can do this by either momentarily turning one of the windows that you have open into something else, like in my case the outliner. I could change that, or I could also add another window in here. So left click and drag that open, and I have another window. I might just make this a bit smaller here, and one of these, like maybe say this one in the middle, I'll go and change into an image editor, and that is now something that I can even make this, just slide it all the way to the top, so I have access to my outliner if and when I need it without having to switch over that. And then you can go and open pictures like the ones I had on my where was that now? That was on my somewhere. I don't remember my drive names. Was it storage? And then was it here? And then was it there? And then was it, I think it was here. Yes, it's coming back to me. There we go. There's this one. So if I just open that WebP image, then I have that right here inside Blender, and I can zoom in and I can move around, and this is a nice reference image to have. But you can also go and open other reference images now. So I can go and just say there wasn't an open here and pick another one like this one. They might not all be fantastic. Like wide was good here, I remember. That's good-ish. You can see different perspectives here, and that's quite nice. And then I'll bring in one more. Was it this one here, number 4? That's him dancing. That's nice. Just in case we need to see that, I have a few here. That is another one. Almost looks like the same one that I already have, but variety is the spice of life. I've even found somebody who's made a cutout set like this. It's so funny. So if I wanted to go and make this temporarily full screen, what I can do is I can hover, so you don't have to click, you just need to make sure the mouse is over the window you want to make full screen, and then you hit Control Spacebar, and then the whole thing becomes full screen, just temporarily. Sometimes you might press this by accident and you think, oh my god, how am I going to get back? So you could click previous or just go Control Spacebar again, and this works with every window. So if you want to use your 3D viewport, just hover over that, Control Spacebar, and then that is full screen. So that's a nice way to work distraction free in Blender. Sometimes it takes a moment to go back. So yes, you can print that out and cut it out, and it's kind of cute, isn't it? But let's start with these chairs here. Let me go and pick one in which I think we saw those quite nicely. So in this screenshot, they actually have 2 different types of chairs. These ones are the ones that I'm going to make, and this is a slightly different one. But I think this is a nice-ish kind of reference. Assuming those 2 chairs are the same, we have somebody who's sitting in there, so that gives me the indication for the height of the chair. So we'll need a sitting person as a reference. And then we have these sort of woven edge pieces, 2 of them. And then it looks like we have a seat cushion and something else, and maybe a little bit of room underneath here. We don't really know what these things look like from the back. We don't get to see that, but we do see something like a back piece that is half inset over these edge pieces here. So I might just go and make that a small extrusion here. I'll see how we can do that. Have a think if you have ideas of how to do that. There's multiple ways to approach this. You could draw out a path, you could trace it literally, and then extrude geometry out of that. I think I might just go and work with block modeling, so just use a cube and start with that, and work from there, and then add other cubes to it, and add edge loops if and when needed, and eventually join them all together so that you have an object. That is what I would do. Anita is here, the Amaranth. How's it going? Nate, I hear you. 3 displays. This is what I have on my desk as well. Multiple computers as well. This is where even more monitors really make sense, don't they? So one of those things. And other people prefer to have like one monitor that's really, really large. I mean, I know people who have these 40, 50-inch monitors on their desk and like really high res. And I'm thinking, oh, that's also an interesting idea. So you don't have multiple monitors, you have one, but everything is really, really large on that. So interesting. Anita, how's it going today? I'm about to embark on modeling this chair. So I think before I do that, I'm going to go and get myself a size reference in from, of course, the Daz Studio. Let's use Genesis 8. In fact, Genesis 8 male dev load is good. And we're building the red room, the iconic red room from Twin Peaks. Or at least that's what we're trying to do. That's what we're trying to do. So I could just have a sitting pose, or I could just go make myself one. That's not really that difficult, he says. Oh, we might, oh no, don't do that. I was going to say, do we do snapping here? We can do, can't we? Oh, we don't want to do that. Oh, it's because that's not the right. Why is the not working here? That's weird. Is it because snapping is on? I don't think so. Is it? Do I have this guy? I go with power pose, and yes, it's not bad. Let's go and lift your leg up, dude. Do you not want to do that? Doesn't want to lift his leg up anymore. What a shame. What's going on, buddy? How are you on the thigh bend, brother? Can we do that? Yeah, there we go. Thigh, all right, that's good. Do the same with the right as well. Something like that. And then we have not the thigh twist, but the shin. And that goes down. There we go. Sitting pose. All right. Same with the left. Oh no, that's the twist, isn't it? No, that's not what I want. Shin down. Right shin is totally gone away again. And then I think we can go and put your arms down as well. Or not so much down, but he had them in the reference, they had them kind of angled up here. So slightly out, and just go and try to do that. So that's probably enough as a reference. Perfect. So we could, if you like, put your shoulders down just a tad. Control D to pop you on the floor, and then that is somebody sitting comfortably-ish, I'm thinking. Let's go and export him out. We probably don't need high res, so mesh resolution base res. Him being Genesis 8, he doesn't have any attachments, not the dev load doesn't. Let's go and export that. OBJ G8M sitting. And we want to use the Modo scale because we want to go and use we want to import this in Blender, and the size should be okay. And here we go. Red room OBJ G8M sitting. There we go. No splitting. Here he is. Oh, I forgot. I didn't mean to do that. That's not my intention. So I imported all the other bits and pieces. That's not what I wanted to do. To circumvent that, rather than making everything invisible, you can go and use the filter objects option up here. If you enable that and just say selected roots, then only Genesis 8 male will be exported and nothing else. That's more what we want. Let's go and try that. Yes, much better. There we go. Are you comfortably sitting there, buddy? It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Wide curved things freak you out. I hear you, I hear you. Wouldn't that be good, Amaranth? Type sit and the figure will sit. Yes, in the cloud or not, but that would be really cool. Make me some red draped curtains. That would be really good, yes. I wonder where they are with that, because I think I've signed up for the beta, but I haven't heard back yet. I don't think anyone else has either, but I'm sure they're working on it. Also, the bridges are constantly being worked on. I'm in such luck that I'm in touch with Daniel from the bridges team, and I get to test beta versions of new bridges that come out. That's really, really exciting. So yeah, very nice. Let me go start with this bottom piece here. We're going to split that. So Shift A to create a new mesh, and we're going to use a cube, which, you know, might be a little bit too big. GZ1 to move that up, and the first thing I'll do is move the origin point to the 3D cursor. Right click, set origin to 3D cursor. When I do that, I can click S and then just make it smaller, like kind of like so. So his bottom is a little bit inside there. That's kind of perfect. We can indent that later. So this is going to be a combination of the seat cushion and everything on the bottom. So I'll go split that later. Just to get this from the front, I suppose you, my friend, need to be, no, actually you're both okay. I think you're both okay. The cube needs to just be scaled SX a little bit wide out so that they have a little bit more room here. That's fine. He's not completely symmetrical. That's I'm good with that. It's just a size reference. And then we have the arms coming out there, and then the back of that, Control 3 or 3 on the numpad. SY, we're going to make that a little bit wider. GY to bring that a little bit forward. That's sort of the base on that, I'm thinking. So this gives us a rough block out of what the side panels need to be. I'll make one only, so I'll start with the same thing. Shift A will go make it a cube, GZ1, put that here, and because I want them to start on the floor as well, I'll do the same, set origin to the 3D cursor, and now I can go S, then whoops, set origin to the 3D cursor, there we go, S, and just move that over kind of here. SX to squeeze that in, so we'll get something like that. GX to move that over here, and yeah, maybe that's kind of that. It kind of depends on how they're sitting. I don't want to make them too narrow, so yeah, I might actually go and do this SX, make that a bit shorter, so this guy can come over here a little bit, and then that could be that. Maybe a little slimmer SX like that. GX. I like working with the shortcut keys here. And that could be SZ. Is the height okay? Height's kind of okay, isn't it? Maybe a little lower like this. Let's make them like that. Then the sides here, I suppose, because we're going to have that back piece, I would imagine that's sort of flush in here and goes just up a little bit. I think that's going to work out okay. I'm not going to make a duplicate of that just yet because it's just something I'll do at the end. And let's worry about the back piece. Oh, these actually, they come out a little bit, don't they? So S, Y, and maybe G, Y. Just move that out a little bit because there's this, I can see this slight kind of overhang edge here. At least that's what my chairs are going to look like. And then we're going to do maybe just a duplicate of this. Shift D, enter RZ90, and then we go and bring that G, Shift Z to the back and make that a bit slimmer so that it fits in here. 7 for the overhead view. And we'll go G and kind of put that here maybe. And then we go SX to sort of here, and all that needs is a little bit of SZ so that it comes out like this, and then we can, if we wanted to, we just leave it like that, or we just go and put a small extrusion on the outside here. that's the basic of our chair. And now we can go and refine that. Let's go save that and see what happens. Jeff, I don't have curved monitors either. I have to say, it's intriguing to see these really wide ones there, but they're essentially just two monitors stuck together without the middle bit. And for things like streaming, it's a real nightmare, because if you have to sort of cut something out to a 16:9 ratio, that's always a problem. I mean, you can use window snapping and all, but it's sometimes easier to say, hey, OBS, capture this display, and it's always in the right aspect ratio. So just for that reason, the super wide monitors are not quite my cup of tea. So let's see. What we need here is, first of all, if we're going to start with the armrest here, we can go and use a subdivision surface modifier. But of course, the moment I add that on, that's down here on the little wrench icon, the moment I do that, and this is always my favorite thing that happens, subdivision surface modifier, my armrest turns into this, and that is of course not at all what I want. So I need to do something in order for that to not happen, so that my object is going to look cohesive. And that's a technique in modeling that's called bracing. And it's not always necessary. So if you wanted your object not to have a subdivision surface modifier, and by all means it doesn't have to have one, you can leave your objects just like that. Just be aware that if somebody were to put one on and the geometry collapses, well, they might not expect for that to happen. Often, like in this case of the chair, I think we want that to have this organic look, like Genesis has a subdivision surface modifier. Some objects don't need it, like architecture, they often have these hard edges, and it's totally fine. You can even add curves into that, but yeah, we don't want that effect. So in order to avoid that, we use a technique called bracing, and that's something that you usually put in at the kind of towards the end of the modeling process. But just to show you what that is, if I first of all Control A to apply all my transforms, because we've done all types of changes here, do that, hit Tab to get into edit mode, and then we can go and hit Control R to bring these edge loops in. And usually you put 2, and then you say SZ, and then they go kind of to the outside. Depends on how much of a bracing you want. These edges will now make sure that the subdivision surface modifier holds this in place. So Control R, put another one here, or another 2 rather, SY, move those out. And then we need another 2 in here, 2 SX to move them out a bit. And so we've got these edge loops here, and then the moment we put a subdivision surface modifier now and go out of edit mode, we can see that the cube shape is in place, but it's got that little beveled look to it. So there is more roundness to it a little bit. There's a kind of a natural bevel here, but the object remains in place, and that's kind of nice. So as I said, you usually do that at the end of the process. All we're going to do here is maybe just have one dip in the middle where this thing kind of goes down, and maybe another one up, so that we get this curvy bit in there. And we can do that with the modifier applied in there already. So R into here, and I'm going to go and put one here, and Control R, maybe another one here, and then I'll switch to face mode and just go grab both of these and just go GZ. Yeah, see, it's not so good. No, they're just those faces, and technically also this face, and also kind of that face, which is why it's easier to put these things in at the very end. And then we go GZ, and that gets that kind of dip here. I think we might go into edge mode and bring these slightly closer together. Alt click on that, Shift Alt click on that. Whoop, just one at a time. GY, move that here. Alt to get that whole edge loop. GY to put that here. So that's that dip, and we have kind of a dip and the thing that comes out. So we'll go and put another edge loop into here, and we go and SZ that up a bit. Oh, no, that's not what I meant. GY, go further over here. That's almost doing what I want. I think I just want the same effect over here. Like that. And then we go back to edge mode, sorry, face mode. I just go and move these guys up a bit. Then gets that kink here, RX. Don't be afraid to rotate. Something like that. And maybe then also this here. As I said, the subdivision surface modifier at the end is going to make your life so much easier just with selections and all. But it does also help you see things in while you're modeling. So maybe something like this. It's maybe a little exaggerated, but we're getting there. So I don't want to detail this thing too much, but I do want to add, there's these golden strips. If you look closely, this is going to help me in texturing. So I already have one on the side, but I need another strip in the middle, and that seems to go all the way to the back. So I might go and add those things in just as geometry, and that'll make it easy for me to get those in texturing. Whoops. Control R, get two of these guys in, SX, make that strip smaller like so, and I'll be able to select that geometry and then give it a different material. Okay, out of edit mode. This kind of, I'm okay with this, even if it's a little bit too exaggerated. I think I'm buying this. This is good. But great for maximizing your central viewport. Yeah, that is true. I can see, I've seen people game with those types of monitors as well. I've seen people have one of those in the middle, like an extra wide, and then portrait a 16:9 monitor left and right of that. That is also a cool setup. So you have your access to your chat, but when you're gaming, you literally have that peripheral vision all opened up. So yeah, I can totally see that. Totally see that being exciting. One last thing I want to do here, because we still see facets here, that is something that happens because of shading. So I'm going to go and right click on my object and say shade smooth, and then that will disappear. And that's nice. If you crank that up, the subdivision surface modifier will be, you know, smoother, but this is going to be nice. I'm buying that. I'm duplicating that over to the other side. And that's going to be my sides. So the back, we're going to do something very similar, but Control A, apply all transforms first of all. But it's going to be much simpler. So first of all, it just has that thing going up in the middle. I think I'm going to go and add, oops, tab into edit mode, Control R, and just make maybe 3 of these. 3 edge loops, enter to make those pop in there. Alt, click on this guy. And if I wanted to scale that up, actually just the top edge will probably do it, GZ. That does that, and then we go and follow up with these ones here, GZ. And give it that sort of curve at the back. That's really all we need, isn't it? We can probably get away with not doing this extrusion here. Although we could, I suppose. And go kind of here, and then we go do that. I could put a mirror modifier on this, or I could just do the lazy way, do it literally at the same time, and say E, enter, and then we go one. No, I can't do it. Then go do it one at a time. Sorry, we go G Z X. It kind of comes out like that, and goes whoops. comes out like that and goes maybe down a little bit like so, and maybe gets scaled down somewhat as well. Yeah, mirror modifier would be the best way to do it, to get it absolutely accurately on both sides. GX out, GZ kind of down, S inside, but I think we're gonna be okay. It's just a little mini feature here. And if I don't want those edges to look as if there's this massive gap here, GZ, just drag those down. Everybody's happy. Perfect. So we've got that little overhang there. So same thing here with the subdivision surface modifier. Let's go and add some bracing points here. This, and then the way to know how to move both of them on the outside is by scaling. So SY to the outside like so. This one can be slightly further in so that the curve becomes more. That's one. And then we have I think this one here. Hello, there we go, like that. And then we have another one that needs to be down here. And then one more at the top here so that that holds in place. I think that's it. Have I forgotten anything? I think that might look mighty fine. Okay, that's my back. I wonder if they should be a little bit higher, the whole thing. Just, you know, the whole caboodle here. Maybe that's a little bit too pronounced. It's not quite that steep in the center, but yeah, that's that. So now let's go and get this guy temporarily just vanished here, and let's work on this. So luckily we don't really see all that much here, but we can go and just make a duplicate of that. And have one at the top and one at the bottom, and one that we can make a little bit fluffier, maybe indented so that so that he can sit there. So first of all, duplicate that. Has it done it already? No, it hasn't. So Shift D and enter. One is scaled down. That's this bottom bit here, sort of this way, and then we also move it up a bit. So that's this solid looking thing, and then this guy here, that's going to be the slimmer top looking thing. So SZ to make that slightly slimmer, GZ, bring that up so that it's kind of the seat cushion here. Slimmer even like so. And the bottom guy we probably don't need to do anything with, so all transforms. I think here all I'll do is brace it with edit mode and 2 edge loops here, SX to the very outsides here. And now I need to see some other bits and pieces, so I think these guys, they can just go for a second. Also this also would have helped if I had renamed my pieces, but that's okay. Well, I'm going to go and combine them in a moment anyway, so SY to kind of here, and then another one. SZ, oops, sorry, that's not it. 2SZ over here, and that'll be that. Perfect. And then the that's you, and then that's actually that, isn't it? Yeah, perfect. So this, just to put that into the correct spot. GZ kind of like here. And I think this top bit, because I want to indent it a little bit with the brush tools, I'm going to go and subdivide. So just the top face, nothing else. I think the whole thing doesn't have to be subdivided. I could do, but I don't think the rest needs it. So let me see if I can get away with just a few. That's just right-clicking and then doing that. That should be enough. So I don't actually have to use the sculpting tools. I can just go and use overhead view and then select maybe just a few vertices in the middle here. Switch on the proportional editing, and then I can go and say G and Z, and that might that's going to turn this into a big spring cushion. So I'll go make my circle a little bit smaller. This is where somebody can sit then, like so. If you wanted to have a slightly larger indentation in the middle, G, Z, make that smaller. There we go. How does that look? That, yeah, much more comfy, huh? Not quite in the exact position, but hey, you get the picture. It's nice. It's nice. So that is that, and I think since the top is braced, I think because the cushion looks as if it has more rounder edges. Let me try the bevel modifier here with all the edges selected. Control, actually the bottom ones as well. Let me try that too. And perhaps the top ones here as well. Maybe not. Let's see if it actually works like that. Control B. There we go. That's a bevel. That's nice. I might just give that rounded look here. And ideally, I would also like to have that on here, but that's not easy to achieve. So technically, we only need it at the front here and not on the other side. So I think we can probably work with that. We don't have the bracing opportunity anymore, I guess, because I've destroyed the geometry here. Let's see what happens if we put a subdivision surface modifier on that. Does that look good? Shade smooth. That might even work without one. But the problem is if I go and, yeah, that lip isn't nice, is it? No. Okay. Let's get rid of that. Shade smooth. Okay, I'm buying that. I'm buying that. The thing is, when I go and combine all these things together now as one object, it'll be select all of them, Control J, and now I have one object. Now the one object has a subdivision surface modifier, not the individual pieces anymore. So if I do want to model with that in mind, then all of these things need to have one. I think this guy here at the bottom, he can probably go slightly further up now. GZ. Oh, I still have proportional editing on. GZ like that. That looks a bit like a cushion now. So then before we bring this into Daz Studio, we need to go, if we're happy with this, Control S, of course, for saving, we need to go and do the UVs for this as well. So that's another important thing that we need to do. Currently, the UVs aren't on there, so head over to UV editing and make sure this thing is enabled. Select everything, and because they're all from a cube, they all look pretty similar. But for Substance Painter to make head or tail of it, we need to go and let this probably Smart UV Project will work. And now that's laid out properly. Blender has another cool feature that makes a little bit better use of the UV space. So this was very fast, but if you head over to UVs and then say average island scale, you make sure the texel density on all objects is correct. So in our case, we didn't have anything weird. There's no change there. And then we go over and pack islands. That's going to take just a second to calculate. And then it might look just a little more efficient on the UV grid. There we go, more space used, I suppose. There we go, that's the chair. And I suppose now we could start texturing that in Substance Painter. Let's do that. Let's do that. So for that, I'm thinking we use something like a, it's hard to say what the material is here, but let's say it's kind of, it could be something fluffy like a velvet, or it could be something like leather. I don't really know. Maybe we'll call it leather. How's that? Let's do that. I'll export that as OBJs. Chair, and I'll make red velvet. Oh, let's do that. Or is it blue velvet? I'll see what I have in Substance Painter. Let's have a look. I'm going to go select it only, and I don't want to export the materials. I know that sounds strange, but Substance Painter has a bit of a problem when we do that. Not so much a problem, I mean, I'll have a problem because there's just so much work that we need to do because it would create a whole texture set for every material that we have. So I think we only had a single one or even none, but if we had multiple, then that's a problem. So I'd rather not deal with that. So currently this wouldn't have made a difference because we don't have material, or only one. But yeah, that might be an issue. Red velvet, Ayub. I'm totally gonna have a look. Hey, how did you get your? I really like how your name stands out. It's like this gray thing with a tick mark. How did that happen? That's great. I don't think I've only ever seen that with people who have got like 60 billion subscribers. Very cool how you got that done. How did that happen? And if it's a secret, trade secret, totally fine. If you don't want to tell us, it's totally fine. I'm gonna go with PBR. Metallic roughness, alpha blend, that sounds good. I think we don't need a 4K texture. I think 2K is just fine. The file we need is going to be the chair. DirectX, it doesn't actually matter until we export this, and that is all we need. Verified channel because of partnership I did with Google. Fantastic! Oh, well done. That is really cool. I love it when that happens. I love it when that happens. Yeah, so the armrests, they might be a little bit big, but if you want to follow along with this, it's really easy to make these changes. I think why I'm showing you all this is because it's a very nice way of getting into. So I'm still learning as I go along, but it's really nice to just keep doing these simple exercises, and then gradually you'll get better at what you're doing. So I'm quite proud of the fact that I can put simple props like this together. Let's go do this thing with this layer. We're going to go and delete that. And the first thing we'll do is we'll bake the maps for that in the little thingamajig menu here. Output size, we'll use 2K. And default values are probably going to be totally fine. It's my favorite part of Substance Painter, having it think about whatever it's doing there. Oh, great times. Awesome. That is very cool. Maybe Ayub does have 60,000 subscribers. Ooh, very cool. Could be. I did some beta tests with Google, super top secret and classified, about features and what would YouTubers like to see. Obviously, I'm not at liberty to discuss those, but that's also kind of cool. And they value your time. They're really interested in users' input. So I always appreciate it when a company does that, rather than, hey, this is our product, we don't really care because it works for us. It's not like that at Google. I think they are very interested in how it works for all parties together, and I really appreciate that. So red velvet, let's have a look if I have something like that. Do I have velvet? No, of course I don't. That would be too easy. Let's have a look if the Substance website has that. Is it Marketplace? Is it the, this is the community assets? No, let's go. So Marketplace. Unless I have to log in, I never remember my password. See if we have velvet on the store there. And if not, it'll be leather. Oh, there we go. Perfect. This is nice. New version of Creative Cloud. Maybe another time. 3D assets. We're looking really for 3D. I like it. Velvet. Sheen velvet, carpet velvet, interlacing, embossed velvet. This could work if we just drop down the shininess a little bit. I think that might work really well. And then obviously, you know, purple might not be the best color. You've called it. Let's do this. Oh, there's a velvet shader asset in the Daz store. Oh, well, that doesn't help me in Substance Painter, does it? But that would be good if we just drag that on directly in Daz Studio. Whatever makes the job easiest. I've got to say, that's you know, sent to app. Let's do that. Substance Painter. Boom. Licensed. All right. Here it is. Left click and drag that onto everything. Yikes. Ay caramba. It's a couple of tweaks we need to make. I think the first one, maybe the color and this would be something like a dark red desaturated velvet, right? I could also be like a brown rather, because much of it is probably going to be done with the lighting. So it'll take on a bit of a red from that anyway. I'm glad we can pick the colors, and not every Substance material lets you do that. So like this, and then maybe something more like that. I think that could work. It might be nice tone and tone. The scale isn't quite correct, but it could also be the projection. So I think the first thing I'm going to try out is switch the projection from UV projection to triplanar. That often changes the look and feel into something that might work for us. This is turning the HDRI here is shift and right mouse button. So yeah, I could have spent more time on this, but hey, we're under time pressure. I think this is fine. Also with the, now I don't mind the sheen anymore so much, but I could probably go and change that with the roughness, bring that down a little, or up, down a tad, I think. At 0.3, I think that's nice. And so the only other change I'm going to make here is that I'll try to add these golden strips here, and I could have selected that in Blender and turned it into something like an ID map, but I can also go and do this. See if I have something like gold here. I don't. Dang. I do have metal. Metal will be fine. Metal polished, that's fine. Stylized raw metal, perhaps that's a good one. Let me go drag that on. And so obviously not on the entire thing. UV projection or triplanar. Makes barely a difference, it's fine. So this is going to be just on these strips here. And remember when I made these, when I added that extra geometry, I'll now try to select it and just mask that out. So it's a nice little trick that I think Substance Painter has. Very very underrated. I like it. I'll go and put a black mask into this, thereby masking this layer off completely. And then inside the mask, I'll go and paint something. So whatever I paint there will show up. So I can either go and draw on here and then that gold comes through. That's really not what I want to do. But if I go over to the polygon fill tool and then go either to polygon mode, depending on what I need here. I don't have UV fills for that, but if I had a whole UV island, I could just go and click this here, and then that whole part will be filled and it looks at the UV, so that part there. So I can't do that, but I can use the polygon fill. And if I go look really closely, I can go and just go and paint, whoops, these bits and pieces in here. And then we get that golden strip. That might be a little bit wide, so, you know, you can also switch over to the 2D view and do that there. I suppose conceivably that's, it doesn't, is it on the back? It may not be. If ever that happens to you, you're technically not painting with gold, you're only painting with black or white on the mask. So to get rid of that, you can press X to change the color on the mask from white to black, and then you go over these things and then they disappear. So it's no real delete option as such, it's just painting the mask in the other color. Like here, there's another small accident that happened here. Perfect. So that's one, and then the sides are also painted in. So X once again. And then while I'm here, I think it's also these bits here. Exciting pastime. I can see why people like it. It's very addictive, especially if you do it with a group of friendly folks and shoot the breeze and hang out. So X, just undo that. And we get going with the other side. Also, why don't we, while we're here, let's go save that project as well. Burgundy, dark burgundy, I like it. I like it. That's something to try out and then see if that maybe looks better than what we can come up with in Substance Painter. It very often is. And also it's all like in 3D, it's all about what gets you the fastest result. So if a shader that you have, that you know how it works, or something that only costs $5 or something, you go, hey, that is actually saving me 2 hours worth of work. That's a good investment. Substance files, perhaps. That's always the way to look at it, like modeling this chair. So it takes you maybe 2 hours to do, or maybe an hour if you're a bit faster, or is there something that you can buy for $10 that's actually exactly what you need? That's a time-saving way of looking at it. I wish we could buy smaller assets like this on the store. I really like that. The idea that you say, hey, I need a chair and a table and a this and a that, and you buy 4 items for $2 each. That'd be great, rather than a set, and a set, and then kit bash them together. That'd be really nice. Chair. Well, let's start with the middle strip again here. Oops. Anita, you use Substance Painter, right? I'm assuming you do. I'm pretty sure you do. Who here uses Substance Painter among us, among you guys? Be interesting to hear that, because it's a program. It really took me forever to get into it, and I really didn't like how it worked, and it took me a while to get friendly with it. And there's still a ton of stuff that I have to learn, but now it's one of those programs that, a bit like ZBrush, creeps into all my workflows. I always find uses for Substance Painter, just simple things like changes, retexturing things. It's one of those things that at first I found it so difficult to get into. I really didn't get how it was working. Maybe it's also because I didn't have the right tutorials. A bit like with Blender. Blender took me forever to get into. But now I absolutely love it, and I can't think what life would be without it. This isn't golden here on the inside. No, good stuff. Well, that kind of looks like a little bit like what the chair in the picture looks like. I think the only thing I might do is the height in here. I might go and change that to something. It doesn't change. What a shame. Oh, because I'm still on the, sorry. I was kind of hoping that I could apply sort of like a height version to that. But it is not to be. It's fine. It's fine. Right, yes, indeed. For stitches, really good idea, yes. Yeah, could add a filter. What filter are we thinking? Like a height filter? Could do that. Could put a bit of a grunge filter. Actually, because it's only we're already so over time, let me go crack on with a couple of other objects, and let's just leave this as it is. And when we do the statue, that's actually something we do in Daz Studio. We'll go and do that next, and we'll go and use a filter on that, because the marble statue, that could be a little, could do with being a bit grungy. Let's do that. Let me go and export the textures out of here. Export textures. It wants to put it in here. I don't know if there's anything in there. Here there is, but let's go and delete that. So PBR, did I say metallic roughness? I think, because I don't need the, actually let me just go and export everything. I'm probably okay with that. Let's export everything and then just go and delete what we don't need. That is that. So we probably don't need emissive. Our chair does not glow. The height map, I don't think we have any detail in there. So let me go and get rid of that. We've got the metallic, the base, the normal, and we have a roughness. So this is kind of good. This is what we need. I'm going to go and X that out of there and put it into my working directory here. Red room, textures, chair. Let's go and paste all of those guys in there. And then in the Daz Studio, where you at, buddy? Here, there we go. Let's go and import my chair. This is the one from Blender, so in meters. We're going to put that. There we go, perfect. That is the chair. As I live and breathe. As I live and breathe. And I can see that our room is actually a bit too small here, so we need to give it a bit, we just need to make that a little bit larger so that we have a bit more breathing space here, but that's fine. We can do that. We can do that. So on the chair then, here's surface. Let's put all these things in under base. First of all, the base texture. Or you can drag them in, that's also possible. There, very nice. Metallicity map is this one. Bit of a metallic look wherever the gold is. Then under expand that, go to bump under normal. let's grab the normal. There we go, get some detail on this, very nice. And then under glossy roughness, I think the metallicity, I've forgotten to crank that up actually, that's still at 0. Glossy roughness has that same problem. You put a map in, but the value is 0, so the map isn't acknowledged, so you have to go and turn that up so that it actually is acknowledged. See that all the reflections, they're now kind of going away or appropriately being put in there. And I think under base here, the same as with the metallicity map, so that isn't acknowledged. So if you crank that up to 1, then the map is acknowledged. Now we have a chair. So that's neat. I think both Genesis and the chair, they can probably both move over here a little bit. And then we'd go and just create an instance of that. Create node instance, chair instance, perfect. We've got the guy and its parented person. So that's that. So we have, you know, 2 chairs. Very cool. Yeah, I'm interested in that as well, Mickey Mouse, because it's a good name, by the way, because it's one of those programs, it's becoming a little bit like Photoshop. It's not like you have to use it, but it's just for convenience. It really does. It does something that I think no other program gives you. You can try the Quixel Mixer. That is also very nice. That's the somewhat easier way to get things done and going. But it's also, I'm not sure if it's as powerful. Sometimes with these tools, it's about how much of the industry is using it, and there's usually a reason for that. So I'm going to make this 150%, just because I think, come on, dude, there. Just because I think the floor could do a bit more room here, like so and so. Yeah, I don't think you have to have it, but it's a major advantage if you have it. It's a bit like Photoshop. You don't have to have it, but it does do you a favor if you have it. While its functionality can be achieved with other programs, there. There's something about using these tools that is that just makes your life a little easier. Do you know, there's been a slight hiccup with the email. The email was supposed to be sent out yesterday at around 4 o'clock, so that we have 24 hours notification. And sadly, it got scheduled wrong, so it went out literally at the time the live stream was supposed to happen. And that's, of course, that was a bit too late. So apologies for that. So therefore, we just went and delayed the stream a little bit. We need to have one more chair, and I'll just go and I might just go and duplicate just this chair here, not make it an instance, duplicate just the chair. There it is. So we see one chair where nobody's sitting in. I'll go back to tool settings and turn on the snapping for my rotation here, and then I'll go and turn that chair around, just because they're on a very angular piece here. There we go. So I don't think I have time for the side table because we're running a little long already, but I think I'll move these guys over here. But I think what we can do is take a moment and work on the statue. So the statue that we see in the reference, that is the Venus de Medici. And so the lamps, I'd model the lamps as well. I'd model the table and then this little gadgety thing. I don't think I have time for that, but it'll be similar tools and similar approaches. And like Ayub was saying, you don't have to use Substance Painter to do your texturing. As long as you do your UV unwrapping in Blender properly, you can use existing shaders. Like this lamp here, I would probably go and literally just use the metal shader from Blender and not even go to Substance Painter. I mean, this is a seriously easy job. So let's see if we can just do that, and then we do the statue, and I think then we're done. Let's go and just do that, because this is so simple, and I don't want you to think you have to use Substance Painter to make your materials. So in this instance here, these lamps, they're probably, I'd say, cylinders. Right, Shift A, mesh cylinder, ever so slightly large. Also down here we don't need all those sides, so I think 12 is probably appropriate number. GZ1 to put that on the ground floor. Then right click, set the origin to the 3D cursor, and then we can go and scale this from here. So height wise, I'm thinking they're kind of ceiling floodlights, I suppose, so they're probably a little taller than people. So let's make it maybe 220, like that, 220. And they're probably much thinner, so S Shift Z to scale in both directions here. S Shift Z, and I'll make it kind of the size of the top bit, so maybe let's say it's 50 centimeters, something like that. So the top is slightly larger than the bottom. Control A to apply all transforms. And in order to do this, we'll just go in and put edge loops in and make them larger and smaller. So let's start at the top perhaps. Control R to put an edge loop in, and let's say this is the top. It has this little kinky gap here. Kinky gap. Let's go and put another one in here just to brace that, just to hold that in place. And for that, so we're gonna make the funnels at the top and bottom first, and then we're gonna go and just shrink in the middle. That's kind of my plan here. And does that have a gap at the top? I think so. Let's go hold that in place also. And then we just go and go to edge mode, so 2 Alt, click on an edge, and just S Shift Z in, and that kind of looks like that. And then to get that curve going, we just put additional edge loops in, so S, Control R, S, and there we have it. So this is, obviously spend as much time as you need on that. For the top and bottom here, if we were to put a subdivision surface modifier on it, you can't do an edge loop in here to hold this in place. What you have to do instead is press I to inset this. That gives you the equivalent of that. And then I again, S0, whoops, hang on. I, dude, hello. I, S0. Then they meet in the middle, and then you don't have ugly triangles. This comes with the penalty that now this isn't actually 1 point. This is technically 12 points. And you get rid of that by merging them, I believe, with M merge at center. And then we're going to get rid of a few points, or also by distance, actually, M by distance. That's it. Now it is 1 point. If it wasn't, then it's still not 1 point. I think there's some other stuff that we need to merge here. Let's go and do that. M merge by distance. There we go. Removed 11 vertices. It's done that now. Perfect. So now it's 1 point. It's great. I think that can probably come in a little bit like so. So that's the top done. Let's go and do the same at the bottom. It's almost the same, just a little smaller maybe in diameter as well. So that's its foot. And then we have another edge loop maybe to up to here, like so. And then we have one more so that we hold that in place, like so. Maybe even just bring that down a little bit. That'll be that sort of gap here. And then we go and scale this in to something that's, you know, small, like so. And then once again, little, whoops. That goes in here. Maybe one more. That's kind of our foot here. Zero. And then same thing, M merged by distance, 11 vertices removed. And then all we need to do is the middle here, that we just go S, Shift Z into the thin lamp that it wants to be, and it's our lamp. Now, I don't know if this is going to hold up well with the subdivision surface modifier, so I think we might go and put another one in here, and another one in here, just to hold these shapes in place, like here as well. Add that here. And for this one, we're not going to do the textures in Substance Painter. We're just going to go and do this in directly in Daz Studio. GZ slightly, whoops, no. Point mode, GZ slightly up so that there's no ugly Z fighting. There's another tip, like for things like these bottom places here. This is from Darren Lyle. If you know for a fact that you won't see something in vision, like the bottom of the lamp, you can save yourself some ag, so to say, by removing faces that you don't see, like a cupboard that'll always hang on the wall. You can just remove the face on the back, and then you don't have to, it's a little easier than to unwrap these things. You don't just, it's one face that you don't have to worry about. And we could do the same thing here. We could literally remove all these things. But then having said that, some engines like Unreal Engine, I don't know about Unity, but Unreal Engine doesn't like open meshes so much. So an open mesh can cause issues with the lumen, global illumination. So it doesn't like it. Like flat planes, not a good idea. You always want to have something like a really flat cube. But let's see what this looks like if we put a subdivision surface modifier on it. Looking swishy. Look at that, it's perfect. Good enough, good enough. You could put more edge loops at the bottom here, I suppose. Hold that in place more. But we've got shading, smooth. There's also, you can do this in Daz Studio as well. If you, let me go and switch this actually to flat so that we see these facets. I'll show you in Daz Studio how to change that. So you don't have to do this in Blender. It's also possible to do that in Daz Studio. But one important thing is that we need to head over to UV Unwrapping and just make sure the UVs are okay here. So just UV, Smart UV Project is usually gonna work out. Sometimes it does not, as you can see here. That's because this is an organic shape and it's tricky for an automation to unwrap that. Because we started with a cylinder, this is still the cylindrical projection, but if we were to put something like a texture on it, we might see some stretching here. So be aware of that. This isn't technically bad, but if you were to put a UV checkerboard on here, you will see stretching on certain parts. So really to do this absolutely properly, you'd have to put you have to mark seams in your model. So anything organic that will have to have a seam marked where the texture technically kind of wraps around. The good thing is we're not going to need it, and I'm going to be okay with this. Even though it's not perfect, my object's going to be just fine because we're just going to use a metal shader. So let me go and save this. Do I have done that? Yes, I have. That's cool. And let me go and export that. We'll say lamp. Materials or not doesn't matter. If we don't export them, Daz Studio is going to give them at least one material, and that will be, that's going to be called default. In meters, here it is. That's our lamp. And oh yeah, I think one was here, and that's going to be the one that has a metal shader on it. So we can go and create ourselves immediately an instance from that, because we have two, we've got one on the other side. So create node instance, same one, and just go and pop that over here. Perfect. I think that's what it looks like, doesn't it? I think they might be slightly further over next to those chairs. Okay, on the original instance under surface, and this is just an example, but exactly like what Ayub was saying, as long as you select the surface here, and we could have named it in Blender, we didn't do it, we can rename it here, that's not a problem. If we wanted to call this, like, you know, geometry editor under tool settings, and if we wanted to call our surface here instead of default, just double click that and call that metal, then on the surfaces tab it'll be called metal, which is nice. So you can also have then, you know, a group at the top here that could be the light if you wanted to have that, or if you wanted to do other things. That's, you know, Daz Studio has that built in, which is kind of nice. So but in order to put a metal shader on here, let's go to our shaders to iRay, or go to the library. I don't think I've got them installed. Do I not have the default resources installed? That is not good. I thought I did. That was on my other system. Sorry about that. Let's go and do that. It's, if you don't see the shaders that I wanted to use, which are called there's a package inside Install Manager. So what I'm looking for is literally the iRay shaders here. There's a lot of categories, and I don't seem to have them in here. Kind of good that this happened. I see other things that came from products, but if you look for default resources, then you see the default resources. That's interesting. I thought Install Manager default filters. That's not it. What are they called again? What a shame. There's usually full of shaders here, and I don't see them. I thought they're just in the default resources. Oh, what a shame. Default resources, that's what where they're supposed to be. It's in my Daz 3D library. That's interesting. Is that not mapped here? I thought it was. It was, wasn't it? Nothing in here then. Default starters. No, I don't see them. How interesting. Hey, do you know, also a good example, imagine you don't have anything. How do you deal with it? You make your own metal shaders. Also super easy. You just go to the base color here and switch this thing to metal. So now it's 100% metallic. That doesn't look great, but that's because the color is probably not white. It's probably slightly off-white, something like a grayish color like this. So that looks more like metal. But also those lamps are not entirely shiny. They're probably going to be a bit rough. So all you then do is head over into your glossy roughness and crank that up. So it's almost the same. The built-in shader has a bit of a variety, kind of a bump map built in there, but hey, this is even without shaders. Usually it's kind of a one-click affair, and there's other kinds of shaders that you usually have in there. I don't know why they're not showing up for me today, but hey, it's one of those things. So that's the lamps. Oh yeah, one thing I wanted to show you. If ever you, like, Daz Studio has the smooth shading feature turned on by default at all times. Like, see, this is how we've left the lamp in Blender, and it's got that faceted look here. But if I go and change this over to shade smooth, then we get the same look as in Daz Studio. So if ever you wanted to have the faceted look, or if ever you see that and you think, well, how do I change that in Daz Studio? It is also on the shaders tab here, and I believe it's under geometry. There's smooth. That's an option called smooth, or you can just go and search for smooth up here, and if you go and enable and disable that, you have that. So for the lamps, that is actually kind of a cool retro look here. Yeah, that's how Daz Studio, or rather the Uber shader, implements that. So yeah, that's that. Hey, let's just quickly do the statue, because we almost have it here. Statue kind of stands in the back there. I'm going to go and save my scene, and that is a substance job, but it's something I wanted to show you because it's important. I think I'm going to go and use Genesis 9 for this, and with the updated default resources, Uber Eats is doing shading now. Dang, tell you, absolutely. With the updated Genesis 9 Starter Essentials, you now don't just get the gray figures, we now actually have people with different skin colors. And I think looking at our Venus de Medici, she looks, I mean, just a little bit, and you can look her up. There's a statue of her. I think I'm going to use Cat for this. Hello, Cat, how's it going? Let's load Cat in, and then I'm going to go and pose Cat just with the with Power Pose, and a combination of Power Pose and the Pose Architect, perhaps, so that she looks a little bit like the statue that we have. So it's like the right arm kind of over to the chest, the left arm over to the legs, and then she's kind of taking a step forward, turning her head to the left, and I think she's bending forward just a little bit. It doesn't have to be, you know, perfect, but just something like that. And I'll show you how to get a kind of a statue look. And we'll go and bring her forward just so we can go and pose her better. Welcome to the Red Room. Good to see you. So with Pose Architect, if you have that installed, you will see lots of additional dials. And if we go into the arms category, there's things, you know, like this, like arms, front, back. This is kind of cool to get these things in there. They're controllers under the hood, like, you know, arms up, down. And sometimes it's easier to dial poses in with that. And I think we have something like arm. Actually, I was in the wrong category. That was built into Daz Studio, what I just saw. You saw, sorry. Under arms, I think there's like, you know, arm bend behind left, something like that. So you can have a look at arm overhead left. You can see if there's something that that works nice. So we have something on the left, arm over hip left. That almost gets us started. You know, we can just start with this and then just do a little bit of tweaking with the hand down. So that's what I'm going to try for this. And then the other one, arm over shoulder right. This is another one that's almost there. So we just dial that back a little bit to maybe here. And then I'll just do the finishing touches with the Power Pose. And I think we also have the right leg goes forward. So under legs, there's all kinds of funky things here, like in, out. That's all cool. So right, definitely have something with right. Let's go and filter that down, balance forward. this is almost what we want, isn't it? It's just the other way around. And maybe my statue is just going to do that. I think that's fine. I'm good with that. If you do use Pose Architect, because these are controllers, the joint rotations will not be baked properly. So there's a little script that you have to use if you wanted to refine the pose, or if you want to save it out as a pose, and that is under Utilities, Pose Architect for Genesis 9, and you just go Extract Pose. It takes a moment, and then it says here the 230 values have now been baked into positions, so that's nice. So let's go and fix the lower left arm, so that just goes down. Well, you can also use active pose for that. That's also possible. Oops, not that. The active pose, there we go. Just go and drag that down, but then you might incur penalties like the rest of the body's moving. So I don't tend to use it for that reason. I usually just go and try to do my best with the power pose, like that. And then sometimes just a little weird to figure out which way do you need to move your mouse, and then it kind of goes that way. So this is the right arm, lower arm here. That goes like that, and this then goes, hang on, no, don't do that, like that, right? And then this kind of comes down. Oops. Well, almost. I've destroyed her. I didn't mean to do that. I think that just comes down a little. And that goes like that. And then we go and do the hand. So this is the right hand. That's this hand. This kind of clasps all the fingers, but her index finger and the others are not quite in the right position. So I'll just go and do this, and then we'll see if that does the trick, and then we'll go and put the finishing touch on there like this. So let's say that's our pose. There's one other thing that I want to do. She's kind of bending forward a little, and she's turning her head to the right, doesn't she? Whoops. That's our statue. Perfect. All we need now is give her hair, and then we've made the Venus of Medici. I think hair is tricky because statues, they don't really have the kind of hair that we have in Daz Studio with lots of transparency maps on there. So we need something almost like something sculpted, and I don't have that. So I'm just going to use normal hair and show you how that works. I was trying to find something like a cartoony type hair, maybe the Belua hair. That might work. That was for Genesis 8, but they're all card based. If they're strand based, this isn't going to work, but that might work. We can even give her here the curl me hair. That might be nice as a statue hair. That might be great. That might also be very funny. Let's try Belua. I haven't tried this on Genesis 9, but let's try it out. So it's going to be a conversion job. Let's see what that comes up with. It was for Genesis 8 female. It was short hair, and there we go. So assuming this works, we're going to go and export her out without eyelashes, but with everything else. So eyelashes and maybe the tear duct we might not need potentially. There we go. That might actually work. That might work. So the eyelashes, they're going to be solid. There's not going to be transparency in there. So I'll leave the eyebrows because they add good things to it. But the eyelashes, I think I'm going to go and take away. And the tear duct, I might leave the tear duct as it is. Okay, so this, we want to go and export the whole figure. So export, call it statue as obj, and we want to go and select the filtered objects, but not just the roots. We also want to go include parented. So now we're not exporting the curtains and the chairs and the other Genesis figures. We're only exporting the selected, but with everything that's parented. So if you ever need to export something without clothing, you would check this off. But in our case, we want the hair and anything else that she has, like the eyes and the teeth. So let's go and do that. I could have, and I might actually do this again, I could have switched her over to base resolution. I don't think we need the whole high-res-ness of the character. Let me just go do that again. Same for the hair. Yeah, we don't need that. And I think the hair, oh, that's already at base. Perfect. Okay, let me just go do that again. It just saves us a little bit of processing power. Statue already exists, and we have included parented. Yes. All right. Venus de Medici. Thank you, Julia. Absolutely. That's her. The Venus de Milo is often credited with being in that room, but that isn't her. So the problem that we're faced now with, if we were to go and that's substance sampler, so we can probably save that as well. The floor here, there we go. The problem that we would be faced with now, if we'd go and try to put this into Substance Painter, is that our character already has 5 UDIM tiles, and the hair at least has another one, and we don't really need that. So that's overhead we don't need, but also the hair, if I put like a triplanar projection of a marble shader on there, if this was made from a block of marble, then there might be a marble vein going through directly from the hair over the face, and if we were to import that with separate UV maps, that wouldn't happen, couldn't happen, and it would be, it's, you know, it's tricky. So what I tend to do in these types of circumstances is to just go and could do another collection here, statue, and just go and import her into Blender, and then just redo the UVs. No splitting. There she is. She's not actually in the center of the room. I could have done that as well. That's probably an even better idea to do that. Let me just go and get rid of her here, and then on my general transforms, let's just go and put her back into the center of the scene and export her from there. That'll be much nicer. Everything else is already set up here. Do that. Now when we import her into Blender, then she'll be the center of the scene. That's going to be much more appropriate here. Statue, there we go. There she is, perfect. So if we tell Blender to look at the UVs here, put this into editing mode immediately, and you'll see that these are in fact our, hello Blender, are you here? Yes, there we go. These are all the UVs, and the first island, so of nails and the legs and arms and torso and the face, and the first one also contains the eyes as well as the hair. So this is now overlapped, and that's not good. So a Substance Painter wouldn't like that. So if we go and select everything, we don't need to UV unwrap the object, we already have that, but we can go to UV and first of all go to average island scale. That means the texel density is going to be evened out, and this is now what that looks like, a totally jumbled mess. And now we're going to go and tell Blender, hey, pack the islands like you do so well. And this is might take a second here because it's a lot of data that it's working with, but it's, you know, that is now all our UVs combined on one map. And this is the statue that we really want to export. Let me go and do that, override what I already had there. Statue OBJ. And because we're dealing with Substance Painter, I don't want to write the materials. So that's already checked off here, and I don't want to do that. If I were to make use of all the material zones, like, you know, nails and eyes and all that, then I would keep that on. But in Substance Painter, I don't want to do that. Everything's going to be a marble shader, and I'll just go and overwrite that. Perfect. So then back in Substance Painter, let's go and make a new object. Select our file, statue. And maybe 2K is fine. We don't want to use UV tile workflow because we've dealt with that. And here she is, perfect. So what Anita was saying earlier is something that we can definitely use here, namely the filter to add some dust into the crevices. That would be a great idea to use the dirt filter. But for that filter to work properly, I need to go and bake my maps. And this is with organic models that have curves and crevices and all that. That is more important than ever. I'm going to just use the default textures here. So this is how Substance Painter can see where are crevices, where's curvature, and it'll help it just, you know, bake the maps, or just create the maps like in the filters. We don't need the paint layer. Let me see if I don't know if I have marble. There's also granite. Granite, if I type in granite, it comes up with marble veined. I might use that. That looks nice. There's also leather reptile skin. Oh, that is nice as well. Reptile skin. I was totally thinking about it. That's not a good statue. Reptile skin statue. That'd be good, wouldn't it? It's not showing. Oh, it's because it's still thinking about it. We'll let it think. It was just a joke. We didn't even need to see reptile skin. Oh, terrible. That is cool though, isn't it? Let's use triplanar. Maybe UV projection wasn't. This is great. Look at that. Oh, nice. Somebody quick make a skin shader like that. Fantastic. Oucharoo. This is fantastic. Sometimes you just got to try these things out. Fantastic. That is really cool. Anyway, back to the marble or granite here, marble vein. Let's use that, and we'll do the same thing. Sometimes with the UV projection, you might see seams like this here. See, this is actually where the torso ends and the legs begin, and sometimes you just see these markings on when you use UV projection. And I think for that reason, triplanar uses a different way to project it, and that it gets rid of that. But also it then kind of changes the scale of the marble. So it's nice, but I think I'd like to see more of the marble. So maybe tiling 2, 3 might be nice. And the marble color is now fully white, so I think maybe if we make that, well, it's a little bit off-white, but let's make it a little darker here. That's a marble statue. But imagine the statue is old and it's been, like, 4,000 years old, very well preserved, judging by the hair. You might want to add something like a dirt layer to it. So imagine, let's make a new fill layer here and only use the color and maybe the roughness information here. So color, let's say this is what things would look like when they're really dirty, color-wise, like a dark gray. But also, if it's grime in things like crevices, they wouldn't be so shiny. So they'd be like, something like that, maybe. Not completely off, but there's like, if it's oil and stuff, that might look like that. So to mix that together with our marble, we go and add a black mask to the layer, masking everything off. And in the mask, we can go and add something like a generator or a filter or other things that only affect the mask. So we're only affecting the black and white value of how the black stuff now shines through on top of the marble. So let's use a generator. And in that generator, let's go and find a dirt generator. And that might look a little too much, but you can see the tendency that it already has. So everything that has a crevice has now attracted dirt over the years, which is, fantastic. That's exactly what we want. It's just a little, perhaps a little much. So we can increase and decrease the dirt level. And we can also increase and decrease the dirt scale. So if we wanted to have something like this, could be the dirt. And then there is the, was it edges masking? Was that it? That was not it. It was grunge scale, contrast level, blending contrast. No, that's not it either. But there should be an option to edit the kind of curvature here. Curvature intensity, there we go, that's it. I think. No, Jay, that wasn't it. Dang, what a shame. So essentially play around with this until you find the right value. It could be attributes here. No. Or you can also use the amount of like how this mask is affected, so not 100%. You can just go and blend that in somewhat, like slightly like this. That's another option. There was a way to do this with some value. Of course, I don't really remember where that is because I don't know Substance Painter all that well. But that's how you add really exciting effects. You can add all kind of other things here to kind of clamp there, but I think we'll leave it like this. I suppose only one other thing is that the hair now looks maybe a little bit too dirty. So I suppose you could add a paint layer on top of that, and then you can either paint with white to make it completely dirty, or like I said earlier, press X to reverse the colors to make it completely white. Or you can also go and turn the color to something in the middle, that you have something like a medium gray that you're painting with. And just lighten that up a little bit. Because in reality, it might not be quite so strong. If I had a tablet, this would be a little bit easier here. But painting with a trackball is good. It does, doesn't it? I think so too. Gives us some... Actually, I like that dark streak there. Perfect. So that's our statue. Let me go and save that. And then we're almost done with our red room. Then we do lighting, but I think we're not going to get to that today. But I hope I could kind of inspire you to just get up and build what you like. It's so cool to start with really simple, small sets and then branch out into something really exciting like super crazy spaceships and all that. I'm going to go and bake all the textures here. I think, is it in 2K? Yeah, perfect. That's fine. I'll bake it out and then we'll go and set that up. So yeah, we don't need emissive. We don't need height. I don't think that has any detail. Does it? It could have. Oh, are you opening this in Photoshop? Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Fine. Let's have a look if height has any detail. If it does, you can import it together with the bump map into Daz Studio. You can use the bump map, sorry, the normal map in the normal channel. But I don't think we have anything. No, we don't have anything. That's good to know. So let's not worry about that. We do have something in the metallic map, and we might have something in the normal map, and then we have roughness. If you do have a height map, it would go into the bump channel. So normal goes into normal, and then the bump map, the height map goes into the bump channel. You can do that. Let me go and X that out. Put that into textures and statue. Put that into here, and then we'll go back into the Daz Studio. We don't need the fully fledged figure anymore because we're going to go and import the statue that we had in Substance Painter. There she is, and I think for reals she's kind of somewhere behind the two guys, but just for texturing or texture preview purposes, let's go to surfaces and then statue, default, and under metallic, oops, I'll go and use the metallic map, crank that up, base color gets the base map. There we go, it's all coming together. Then in the glossy roughness, I'm going to put the roughness map, and I don't think the roughness needs to be cranked up as well, so now we have that nice roughness effect. I don't think we have anything in the normal channel, but I'll just add that map in there just in case. I don't think there was, but just in case there was. So there we go. Nice. And then if we wanted to override the color, we can always go and play with the base color here. So if we find she needs to be, you know, she has to have a tint or something, she can have a tint. Make it slightly warmer here. And then we go and bring her, I think, behind, whoops, behind these two gentlemen, not so much intersecting with the curtain. And then we've built our vignette. Yeah, I think if I had more time, I would totally show you how we would go about and package the project as well. But that won't be today, I'm afraid. Yeah, I'm thinking we might just move the curtains, all curtains here, back a notch, and then you could extend the curtain over here, and the statue has a little bit more breathing space here behind the guys. There, and then it's onto lighting. Yeah, I think if we look at this in iRay, it's not going to look fantastic, I suppose. But you know, that's just a matter of balancing out the HDRI that I've got in here with some spotlights. So to emphasize the curtains, I'll go for active viewport here. To emphasize the curtains, so first you make the HDRI maybe a little bit darker, and then you put a soft spotlight on here and on here and maybe on here. You can also have spotlights from the back to bring things out. I think I would also have a spotlight coming from the side that illuminates her. But imagine all the cool kinds of portraits that you can build with this. And you know, I hope this has whetted your appetite, so to say, and means you can get started with your own vignettes. Sorry for the late start here. We've gone over a little bit, but it's one of those things, you know, modeling that takes quite a bit of time, and I wanted you to see the whole process so that we, you know, that you see just how much work goes into these things. And I really have rushed through these things, and next time you buy a product from the store, you think, hey, there's a lot of work that's gone into this. So I hope you liked it. My friends, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I will hopefully see you at the end of November. So the last weekend of November would be our next scheduled stream, if it's gonna work okay. I'm sure it will. I'm sure it will. And apologies on behalf of Daz and myself and my crew. Thank you so much for helping my moderators Julia and Dragonade today. Really appreciate that. Thank you so much for staying so late. Enjoy your extra hour in Europe, and we're going to get it kind of in a couple of weeks, and we're going to get it back. We're going to get it back. Have a wonderful night. Take care, my friends. Bye-bye.